I threw my hat into the ring because of Pierre, actually. I don't know if you know the story, but I was working as an external consultant for the World Health Organization, and I saw Pierre's testimony in front of the US Senate in December 2020 and read his paper. Firstly, I thought, well, when I saw him speaking to the US Senate, he was virtually begging them to allow ivermectin to be used. I just thought how ridiculous, really, that the doctor's having to beg politicians to use a safe old medicine that's been around for 40 years and is, dirt cheap and so on. I got his paper, and there was really compelling evidence there. And so I did a review myself, which is my job. I do systematic reviewing and guideline methodology, and it was kind of a no-brainer that we should be using ivermectin, especially in that situation where we were seeing the death counts every day on the news and so on. There was really nothing to lose. We were in a dire situation. And so I started speaking out in January 2021 when it was clear that, there was a safe treatment, at least one, for COVID that was being ignored. And actually, it became clear as the days went on, it was being suppressed. So I think that ivermectin is extremely important in the COVID story. I think it's the key. And I think it's such dangerous information. They really don't want, the authorities really don't want the public to know that there was safe, effective treatment all along, and all the COVID measures were absolutely unjustifiable. So ivermectin raises very, very uncomfortable questions for those in power. Because, and I can tell you why, I was absolutely astounded at the response that I received, because I was basically a little quiet little researcher doing my work. I didn't even have any social media, what I did was, after doing my analysis, I corresponded with all the authorities I could think of, sending them my review, and I got no response. And there were all these people dying every day, and I thought, well, I better do something. And my daughter said, well, what about YouTube? So I signed up for YouTube, did a little video, a couple of minutes, to the UK Prime Minister, just saying, well, anyway, I'm sure people can look it up, but it got taken down within a day. I was just saying, I've looked at the evidence. There's solid evidence that ivermectin works, and please get your Minister of Health, Matt Hancock, to contact me. And I heard nothing. I also started a Twitter account, and as the Evidence-Based Medicine Consultancy Limited, which is my company. And that lasted a few months and got taken down. I barely posted on it. I posted a few papers, and that got taken down. We started a Twitter account for the British Ivermectin Recommendation Development Group, which was an initiative I started in January, and that got taken down after a few months. So ivermectin was really, the videos didn't need to be watched much, just a couple of thousand views, and they'd get taken down. I also tried Vimeo. Vimeo got taken down. People who shared my videos on Facebook or papers on Facebook got punished. And we also had I basically stopped doing my regular work and outsourced that so that I could focus on this very important matter of getting awareness that COVID was treatable. Not only was prevention necessary, but in actual fact it was treatable. People didn't have to stay at home and turn blue. And so we'd opened a crowdfunding account, and in I think it was probably around about in the second half of the year, maybe August, September, that got pulled, and I I heard from a journalist first. So I got contacted by a journalist, Nick Robbins from The Guardian, asking me why I thought our crowdfund had been taken down. So we heard from the journalist before we even were aware. The journalists knew before us that it had been taken down. And there were other questions he asked. So, I responded to the questions, and my answers were never printed, never published. And I had that experience with other mainstream media journalists as well who interviewed me, like David Rose. Either the interviews were not published, or they were not published in full or accurately. And then, we saw as ivermectin awareness increased, there was a big pushback in the mainstream media, insisting it was a horse dewormer. And I don't know if you remember Ross Atkins' BBC news presentation where he sort of mocked people for taking a horse dewormer. So I was called in the newspapers a right-winger and anti-vaxxer, even though I'm not political in any way at all, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Although I have to say, I certainly am an anti-COVID vaxxer, that's making me think about all vaccines really now. So
Tess, can I just jump
yes.
in there? Just and with Pierre there as well. Would you in relation to children, would you be confident vaccinating your children if that was, hypothetically, if you were confronting the general vaccination of your children at this point?
I would absolutely,
knowing what you know now, would you go ahead?
I can answer that very easily, Neil. I would absolutely not vaccinate my children with another injection. My trust in the pharmaceutical industry has been completely broken. I think, given the way they've been given carte blanche, and with these untested, dangerous COVID injections, one has to question, and the way the regulatory agencies have failed to protect the public, one has to question all of the existing vaccines, and this needs to be a process we have to go through.